Hey there, welcome to Am I Tesla Guy? All things Tesla from an everyday guy in Michigan. I've got a pretty neat video today for you on how to install a cool accessory for your Tesla. So let's take a look at it. Thank you so much for coming back for another video. As I mentioned, this video is about how to install a particular accessory for your Tesla Model 3 or Model Y. In this case, the install is for the Hansshow 9-inch HD screen with CarPlay. Now, there are a couple of different versions of this on Hanssshow's website, so make sure that you pick this one if this is the one you want to get and you want this install video to benefit you. This is not a review video. Again, I will do a review video at a different time and I will link to it up there in the cards, and I will put a link to that video in the description to this video after I have completed it. Before we get into the install, I do want to give a shout out to the YouTube channel Tech and Tesla. I have a 2022 Model Y with the AMD Ryzen processor, and Tech and Tesla's install video was really the only one I could find that covered Ryzen and was in a Model Y. So I just want to make sure to do a shout out to that channel, and I will link to that channel's install video in the description down below. You know, when you're installing something like this, it can't hurt to watch more than one video. So with that, let's get into the installation. All right, so here's the box it comes in. You just slide the cover off. And then this front area is magnetized closed, so that's kind of nice. Top thing you got there is your written instructions for the install. And then, as you would imagine, it is quite well packaged with the styrofoam on the top and these molded styrofoam things on the side. I mean, it is an electronic with a screen. So there you go. You got a view of the front and the back in the bag. And we'll take it out, give you kind of a view of what you're working with. And there's the front side of it. You'll obviously see more of that later. Then you've got these two wiring harnesses. This one is for the Intel Atom processor, and this one, as you will see here in just a moment, you can see is for the AMD Ryzen processor, which is what I have in my Model Y. Also in here, you're going to get the backing plate and the little itty-bitty screws that we will use to hold it on there. We got a spudge tool here, which you can never have too many of those, and this instruction panel guidebook kind of thing. All right, so here is what the car looks like currently before the install. That was the exterior looking in, and then of course the interior looking out. And the first thing I'm going to do is open up all my doors, and I was going to open up the back hatch, but as you can see right here, oh, I stopped it because it was going to hit the garage door. So all doors, and then I put all the windows down because of course we're going to be cutting the electric power as part of this install. Get the front opened, and then we go in and we need to turn off the power. So you go into your car thing, you go to the safety option and you click turn off. This will pop up, and then you press the turn off button. And now I'm going to head to the back, and we're going to lift up the back seat, which is just on there with some foam in a 2022 Model Y. And my thinking was, let's go ahead and unhook the high voltage connector, which is right here, and then we'll unhook the 12 volt in the front. Now I will talk about that in just a second. To unhook this, you want to press down on that little tab right there, and that will break it loose. And then what I learned after a lot of trying, you have to push down on that lever, and then it will just pop off. I was pulling and pushing and all sorts of things that I probably shouldn't have been doing, but if you push down, you can see it just pops up, and then it disconnects, and you are all set. Now I will tell you, you actually want to disconnect the 12 volt up front first before you do the high voltage. I learned from all sorts of weird noises mine made. So make sure you do this part we're doing right now before you go back and disconnect the high voltage. So the first step to get to your 12 volt battery is to take off this protective cover in the front and just set that aside wherever you want to. And then you're gonna have to take out the air filter, which on this car is massive because it has the HEPA filter with a bioweapon defense mode. And it's just taking a 10mm socket in my case and taking these two bolts out of the front. And they're decently long, so it took me a little bit to get them undone, but as you can see, sped up several times so that I was able to get it undone. And then you've got to pull this big filter contraption out of here, which is a little bit interesting. You're going to see that it hangs up a little bit on the windshield washer fluid inlet right over there where you can see it's stuck right now as I'm trying to get it out. And it's sticking on there, and you see it catches right there as well. This comes into play again when I'm putting it back into the car. It obviously came out a little easier with the cap of the windshield washer fluid thing undone. But there you go. That is your air filter, which is amazing. And right there is where the 12-volt battery is. This is a little closer look. There's your positive and there's your negative right there, and that's going to pop off. And you can see the wire coming out from that one. And it kind of snakes back around and connects kind of on the firewall area there. So to remove the negative, you just want to grab probably a flat blade screwdriver and pop this green tab up. And then you grab this black area right here and pull it out, and then it just pops off. It's actually quite easy. I wish all batteries back in the day that I've had on former cars were like that. And so now we are going to head inside, as you can see, and start disassembling inside, which the first thing we've got to do is remove this side panel right here. Now, I knew there were 3 connections in here. I didn't know exactly where they were, though. So you'll find out momentarily. There's kind of 1 down at the bottom and 2 at the top. So there's what the side panel looks like, and there you go. There are the 2 at the top, and the 1 at the bottom. The 2 at the top actually connect to the cover for your vent area. Then we're going to take off this top part of the side molding, which actually has a little clip at the bottom that kind of slides, and you can see it there at the bottom. I didn't know that, so I was kind of pulling when I should have just been lifting up. So lift up and it will come out much easier. And now we're going to take off the vent cover, which really pops off quite easy, as you can see from there. Now I went over to the other side, and I was starting to try and pop it off from the other side, and clearly mentally I was not the quickest person today, and it took me a second to realize that what I actually need to do is I need to pop off that side triangular shaped cover, because 2 of the clips for that cover go into this vent cover. So live and learn. Once I took that off, the top came off quite easy, as you can see here. A little awkward getting it out because, of course, I don't want to scrape anything or bump it into anything. And then I just sat it down on a towel that I had outside. This gives you a view of what the ventilation area looks like without the cover on it, in case you've ever wondered what that looks like. You'll, of course, find out for yourself if you do this install. And then I'm heading back over to the passenger side, and we need to take more of the side trim off. So you got to just pop this little thing off. It's the same thing you'll see in your wheel wells to keep kind of the fabric on that's in there. And that will allow you to peel back this trim piece, which is kind of long, and it is much easier to take apart than it is to put back together when you got to deal with that molding that's there. And you've got to do that because there's another one of those little plastic rivet type things you got to remove to get the carpet out of the way. So we just pop that off. And now we're going to head up into the frunk, and actually that is the pass-through. You see me pointing to it there, and then I'll show you kind of this view. Hopefully you can see it back there. That's where all the cabling goes through, and we're going to have to feed through there. It comes out actually underneath your glove box, which it currently is covered. So I'm pointing to each of those little things there that you got to pop also, and then you drop down the area underneath the glove box, and you can get more access to this. So I used actually a micro USB cable because it was thick and sturdy, and I fed that through from the frunk into the cabin, and you can see that's where it comes out. And then as I back up, you'll see kind of where that is in relation to what we're doing inside the car here. So there you go, micro USB. I didn't have an actual snake or anything like that. This is the harness for the Ryzen cars. That's right there, what's going to hook into the battery, and I'm just going to tape it onto the micro USB cable. This is, there you go, the Ryzen connector. That's going to be the inside connector. So here I've got the cable connected to the micro USB, tape that all up. Now I can just pull the micro USB cable back through, and that will feed it back through. And although things typically don't work too well for me, this worked fantastic. So now I just need to take the tape off, and I can just let that be there for a little bit. Now I've got to plug that wire harness into the car so it gets its information. So the male on the wire harness goes into that female blue connector right there. Quite easy. When I look at older install videos that are out there on Atom processors, it seems like a much more involved process, but apparently, at least with the Model Y that has the Ryzen, I'm not sure about the Model 3, getting access to this and plugging it in was actually quite simple. So we got that plugged in. Now we head back underneath the frunk area, and I've just got to determine what is the best way to feed this over to the battery. And I decided just to go behind the ventilation, behind everything that's there, and I ended up zip tying it to things to kind of clean it up here once I was all done. And then, of course, you've got your positive, which is going to go to the red right there, you can see, and then the negative is going to have to feed back a little bit behind there because back there is where the negative connects. So there's the positive, and then you follow that wire back there, and back there you can hopefully see the negative, and I'm just showing you kind of where I fed it, and you can see a zip tie right there already where I've got it organized. So now that I got that connected to the battery up there, I am going to actually plug this in. Of course, I had to connect the high voltage connector in the back of the car under the back seat first, and got the 12 volt connected in the front. I want to make sure I've got power to this thing and it's going to work before I put everything back together. Although that's typically the way I would do things. I put it all back together without knowing if it's actually going to work. As you can see, it is working. This was definitely a moment of celebration for me. And now we move on to one of the more tedious tasks. You have to count a certain number of vent hole areas here at the top of the cover for the ventilation in, and then you count a certain number more over for where the blue wire goes and a certain number more where the red goes. I do recommend after actually doing that, as you can see here, I moved it to the gray part of my ventilation cover because then I can actually see it when I am putting the screen in. Dawned on me that if I put it on the white side of the panel there, that's what the screen's going to cover up. So here we're just feeding the blue and the red wire through the respective holes. And I will talk a little later about counting those holes over because I came across something that was a little interesting as part of that process. So we pull the blue and the red through, which makes the holes line up. It actually lines up really easily. So long as you count the right number of holes and it lines up, you're going to be fine. It's very well made in that sense. So then I take my tape off because I know I've got it where it's supposed to go, push it in there, make sure it's solid. And then I've got to put this backing plate on. So you feed the blue through and then you feed the red through the backing plate, kind of pull it down, make sure everything is lining up. These are the little screws that you saw earlier. And I don't remember the exact count. I want to feel like there were 6 or 8. They are little itty bitty things. So I had to find a right bit that would work for it. And of course you don't want to screw them in too terribly hard because you are screwing into plastic, just enough to keep it snug. And I kind of evenly spaced them out. So now you can see what it looks like. It looks really good. I mean, it looks OEM. It looks like it matches with the screen of the car. So this is how I fed the wire from the wiring harness up in. I used electrical tape and taped it down. Hopefully that's the right move. We'll find out as this ages, see if we get any rattles. And then of course the red and the blue is where we're going to connect the screen. Okay, just a note for the video that I counted the 25 and got that all hooked up right, and then was all excited, and I connected the screen to the wires that were running through the dash panel, and then I put the dash panel on. And then I thought to myself, I probably should sit in the car and see what it looks like. And yeah, I do think I know how to count, although I will say that math is not my strongest point. I do think I know how to count, but I will say 25 is definitely left of the center of the steering wheel. I'll show you footage of it right now to see. I'm putting the phone right up by my eyes, and you're seeing what I'm seeing. So now I have to take the dash back off. I'm gonna try and figure out a way to move this thing over without, well, I'm gonna have to disconnect it, so there's no way around that. And of course I connected them with electrical tape. So my own fault, I gotta do that. That's probably gonna add 20-25 minutes to this install, but I just wanna point it out so you don't do it. Once you get it connected to the dash, set the dash in there and see how it lines up before you actually connect everything. All right, now this is the view for my eye now that I've moved it over. And as you can see, it is on. Looks pretty good. And other than that one, little bit of a snafu there on getting it lined up for where I sit in the car. It is done. It was pretty straightforward. And now it is putting it all back together. As I alluded to earlier in the video, I am sure there is some kind of a trick to getting this thing in. But if you ever wondered if your front can hold a 215-pound guy, the answer is yes, because obviously I'm standing in it right now. And it took a little bit of wobbling and everything. Of course, I didn't want to break it, and I did not end up breaking anything, which is, again, another victory for me. And of course, it was that windshield washer fluid area over there. So I'd love it if you want to drop me a comment down below if you know of an easier way to get that back in. I would love a description on how to do that, just in case I end up uninstalling this or get some different screen down the line. Appreciate any tips that you have on that process. Then we just got to put these bolts back in and get them all screwed down and tight. And then finally putting the cover back on just to make it all look neat and tidy. And with that back in, we are all done. So there you have it. That is the installation of the Hansshow 9-inch HD screen with Apple CarPlay. I hope you found the video beneficial and that it will help you if you purchase this product and you install it. Now, I am happy to say that I did reach out to Hansshow and they are willing to provide a discount code to anybody who purchases this product, or really any product from them. That discount code is in the video description below, so make sure to use that to get a pretty decent discount if you purchase this product or any other products from Hansshow. I will say that I purchased this product myself. I decided to go ahead and put my money where my mouth is, purchase it, and get it installed. I have, as of the recording of this video, actually been using it for a couple weeks, and I definitely have some thoughts on it, and I will share those in a separate review video. So make sure that you check back here because, again, I will link to that review video up in the cards and down in the video description below. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.